What just happened last night in Madison Square Garden? The miracle, the Mecca is exactly what happened. Loaded episode of Carving Up Live on Tap. Gonna start, obviously, with the New York Knicks pulling the greatest finals comeback we've ever seen in the history of basketball. Get to that. How San Antonio pulled off the worst collapse in the history of the NBA Finals, where OG Anunoby's tip shot at the end of the game to win it with 1 second left. Where does that rank among the top 10 best moments in the history of the NBA Finals? Bryson's best 10 comes back with that. Got my man, DeLuna, joining the show. He's the host of the First and Tuna Podcast. Big-time Rams guy, Rams reporter. He's joining us to talk about Aaron Donald potentially coming back, the Myles Garrett trade, all kinds of Ram stuff. Stay tuned for that. Patrick Mahomes just signed the biggest contract in NFL history. And at the end of today's show, Game 5 predictions. I can't wait for today's episode of Carve Up Live. So let's drop the beat, baby.
For Jalen Brunson, allow him to operate at the top, 101.
Brunson gets it, fires up a three. Shot no good, the chip, it's gone! It's gone! It's gone! With 1.2 remaining, Knicks take the lead. OG Anunoby.
Here we go. Here we go, everybody. Good evening and welcome to Carving Up Live right here on YouTube, as well as on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitch, and on X. I'm Bryson Carver. I could not be more excited to be with you guys. Yeah, I'm wearing this, this orange Under Armour shirt. Normally, I'm wearing this to celebrate an accomplishment for my beloved Tennessee Volunteers. You can see those balls almost behind me. But today, listen, as a guy who not only picked Spurs in 7, but picked Spurs to beat the Knicks months ago, as I somewhat made a big deal about prior to these finals. Honest to God, I could not be happier for New York Knicks fans. We'll get into all of it for the first, I don't know how long. Again, DeLuna, talked to him yesterday about the latest, if I can speak today, last 10 days for the Los Angeles Rams. Very excited to hear his perspective. I think you guys are as well. That'll come up in about 45 minutes or so. Get to that. Top 10 plays in the history, top 10 moments, I should say, in the history of the NBA Finals. Very, very excited for that, where OG Anunoby's tip-in ranks among them. You saw it at the open of today's show. Mahomes signed a massive contract extension. Game 5 predictions. Is the series over? Are we going back to MSG? I can't wait. Oh, my goodness. I got to just take a moment just to appreciate what the New York Knicks just did last night. Let's get right into it. Let's not mess around anymore. But first, the greatest comeback in the history of the NBA Finals. We saw it last night. The New York Knicks up 2-1 in the series. But prior to last night, no road team had won. And they're down 29 at one point. Late second quarter, they're down 27.5. Early third quarter, they're down 29. And I've talked about how the Garden is one of the last true legitimate home court advantage. If there are loud fan bases in the NBA, I'm talking about fan bases that sound like just blow the top off the arena and make stuff brutal on the opponent. That's as quiet as you'll ever hear in an NBA Finals game throughout the entirety of the first half and then the first half or so of the third quarter. And then we saw history. Then we saw something we've never seen in the history of the NBA. Although one could argue the New York Knicks are kind of used to doing this. If you look at going back to last postseason, down 20 or more in the last 2 postseasons, Knicks have a winning record if they trail by 20 or more in the last 2 postseasons. 5-3. The rest of the NBA, a normal record of 4-71. Knicks have done this 5 times, except in last night, they were down almost 30. So how did they do it? I'm hearing a lot of folks compare this comeback to, another, whether you want to call it great comeback, choke job, a little bit of both, another great championship, a come from behind victory, the Patriots over the Falcons back in Super Bowl 51 9 years ago. And watching that game last night, because I do see the similarities, not just in the historic nature of it, but in both the Patriots and the Knicks really didn't make this just unbelievable rally. For example, with New England, you don't really remember Tom making oh my gosh, that's a sick throw by Brady. Or, oh my gosh, the 50-yard gain to Gronk. By the way, Gronk wasn't even there for that game. He was hurt. You don't remember that signature play. The one play you do remember is Julian Edelman. Probably a little bit of luck and concentration involved in that, but that's pretty much it. You just remember that the Patriots came back. In the case of the Knicks, prior to obviously the OG shot at the end and Brunson hitting some massive shots before that, 2 big shots in the last 2 minutes of the game, there wasn't really a key moment that's going to stick in the memory, maybe of Knicks fans, but I think of basketball fans, that where it was like, oh, this is when the game turned. It was just this gradual, brick by brick. How do you eat an apple? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. The Knicks got on a 13-0 run to get back in it, cut it to 16, I believe. After that, it was kind of, they'd make a run, San Antonio would make a couple free throws or make a couple of shots. I remember when they cut it down to 4, right out of the timeout, De'Aaron Fox, we'll get to him later, hits a 3-point shot to put them up by 7 with 5 minutes to go. Like, San Antonio, there was resistance there. A lot of San Antonio's failures, like the Atlanta Falcons, were self-inflicted. Like, it's not like everything went the Knicks' way or went the Patriots' way. I mean, if you remember that Super Bowl, Julio Jones made a ridiculous toe tap catch on the sideline. The Patriots tried an onside kick in that game. Didn't get it. Atlanta kind of shot themselves in the foot. So did the San Antonio Spurs. But what is absolutely remarkable, let's first talk about OG Anunoby. He's the man of the hour. He'll never have to buy a drink the rest of his life in New York. Show what he did yesterday, because outside of the tip-in, he was great. He had 33 points, only second to Brunson in the game. Second most points scored in the game between both teams. 4 rebounds. How about 10 of 15 from the field? 7 of 9. He hit 7 3-pointers. 7 of 9 from downtown. Hit all of his free throws. 6 of 6 from the free throw line. And there's been some discussion today about whether he should be Finals MVP, not Brunson, if the Knicks get the job done. I'll touch on that at the end of this segment because I do think it's close. But what OG Anunoby is the ultimate kind of example of is not just in the sense of, having elite guys who play their roles at a great level, but OG's kind of the classic do-it-all guy. I'm hearing some people say, oh, it'll be like an Andre Iguodala MVP if he wins it. First of all, love you, Iggy. I got your book right behind me. You should not have won Finals MVP in 2015. That should have been Steph. He's not playing that role. Like, he can give you, he's averaging 23 points a game in these finals. Like, he's been the number 2 guy opposite Jalen Brunson. Cat was the Finals MVP. He's kind of struggled the last 2. Has been in foul trouble. But the ability to shoot the 3, which he's worked on at a very high level over the last few off seasons, has gotten better at that. He's unbelievable defensively. How this man wasn't first team all defense is beyond me. He's done an unreal job on the defensive end of the floor, and just the moment's never too big for him. And I think what you saw last night is a bunch of New York Knicks players. Yes, most of those guys have never been to a finals, but guys who are ready to step up and meet the moment because they played in a lot of big playoff games over the course of their career. We know about Jalen Brunson. We know about Cat. But how about a guy like Jose Alvarado, who plays 16 minutes this game? He and Brunson hadn't played together, I don't know about all season. I know for sure all playoffs. Alvarado in this game, they needed every last bit of what he gave them. 8 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, hit 3 of his 4 shots and 2 of his 3 from downtown. Unbelievable stuff from Alvarado, and even the heads-up play almost gets caught with a backcourt violation. Tosses the bat or passed the basketball before they were able to call it, before he got that second foot on the other side. It's just this, we keep saying it, and it sounds cliche, and it sounds like, oh yeah, duh. The New York Knicks, yes, we know about Brunson. OG was the hero last night. Cat made his contributions finally in a fourth quarter last night. They are the best team in the NBA that I have seen since the 2017 Warriors. I don't think they're as good as the 2017 Warriors. The Golden State's high-end upside and talent is the greatest we've seen, I think, in NBA history. But in terms of playing as a cohesive unit, in terms of just not panicking, I mean, we saw this in Game 1 against the Cavs, but at the same time, it's the Cavs. They're bad defensively, and the Cavs' second-best player is known as the biggest choke artist in postseason history in James Harden. And we'll get to how the Spurs blew this. We will. But I was blown away at just the ability to get any shot they wanted. And also, again, it's not like they just went in this unreal rally, from down 29 to down 10. No, it was just a gradual sort of getting back into that basketball game. And I thought they were sensational. And Jalen Brunson hit some big shots late. We can show you what Brunson did in this basketball game. How about 36, 5, and 7 with 3 steals, 12 of 25 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. It gets overshadowed because of what OG did at the end, and also because Brunson did miss the shot for OG to tip in off the miss. But Jalen Brunson late, make sure I get this correct in my notes. Jalen Brunson late in the game, he scored 5 quick points for the New York Knicks. He hit the 3 over Wemby, which the only small guard I've seen hit a 3 over Wemby is Steph, and we know how great of a shooter Steph is. Brunson can shoot the rock as well, but my gosh, just big spot, down 4, hits the shot over Wemby, and then comes back in the other end, hits the kind of the little floater teardrop type of shot, gets a friendly roll, goes in, Knicks go up by 1. And then obviously Castle gets fouled, hits the free throws, then the end of the game plays itself out, which we'll get to. As far as the discussion of who should be finals MVP right now, like if the series ended today, which if you saw Madison Square Garden, if you saw those celebrities, if you saw Chalamet and Seinfeld and Adam Sandler and Taylor Swift and everybody, you'd have think they won the championship, which it kind of felt that way. I mean, let's be honest. It kind of felt that way. Whether it's over on Saturday or not, I'll predict the end of the show and we'll see it play out in 48 hours or so. But it felt like it was over. It felt like a whole celebration for the city of New York. But if it did end last night, let's say last night they won the championship, hoisted Larry O'Brien trophy, who should be the finals MVP between Brunson and OG Anunoby? We can show you the side-by-side and what they've done. So Brunson beats him in terms of the average counting numbers outside of blocks. He beats him in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. Obviously, OG beats him in blocks. But OG has shot almost 20% better from the field, 21% better from three-point range. And he's actually been better from the free throw line. He's shooting 91% compared to Brunson's 85%. And so, and for those that are making it about the field goal percentage, like, well, yeah, Brunson is shooting a higher volume of shots. He's the number one scorer for the Knicks. Yes, but I'm looking right now at StatMuse at their total attempts. OG is 29 of 50, so he's taken 50 shots. Brunson has only hit 13 more shots than OG on 56 more attempts. So like the efficiency just in the percentage and then just on the counting numbers is off the charts, in favor of OG Anunoby. And by the way, as great as Brunson has been, and he has been unreal in the clutch, we'll show you that in just a moment. At the same time, OG Anunoby has not just the most iconic moment of the series, one of the most iconic moments in finals history. That tends to play in your favor. I mean, one of the guys that's going to be on my list, Bryson's best 10 later, top 10 finals moments ever, Magic Johnson as a rookie, 1980. Magic Johnson was not the best Laker in that series. That was Kareem. We know Magic took the place of Kareem, but Magic has the iconic moment in that series. Kareem was better over the breadth of that finals against the Sixers, but we remember what Magic did more than what Kareem did. Same thing in this case. The argument for Brunson would be he's been the most clutch player in the playoffs, and it's not even close. He shoots 43% from the field in the first 3 quarters of the playoffs. He shoots 55% from the field in the fourth quarter, and he saw it once again last night. Just an unreal basketball game. I don't know if I will... in the moment, I'm like, this is the greatest basketball game I've ever seen. It's certainly the greatest comeback I've ever seen. It is indisputably the greatest comeback in finals history. What I know for sure is this is in a city in New York that has seen their legends, that has seen iconic sports moments. You can think about the Giants beating the Patriots in 2007, spoiling the perfect season, the helmet catch by Tyree, Eli Manning hitting Plaxico Burress for the game winner, beating Brady and Randy Moss. You could think about some of those great Yankees teams with A-Rod and Mariano Rivera and those guys three-peating in the late 90s, early 2000s. They've seen their great sports. But we know this is a Knicks town. We know that this city cares about the Knicks more than they do any of their teams, and that's not to disparage the Yankees, although I will never miss an opportunity to do so. Or the Giants, Jets, Nets, any of the hockey teams, anybody. That's a Knicks town. That's a basketball town. And that is just the drama and the fact that it was at the Garden and the celebrities sitting courtside and Larry David and Spike and everybody, Fat Joe, Mike Breen on the call. It was like watching a movie. I mean, honestly, like there are certain, I heard my man Colin Cowherd, shout out to him, say today, like there are certain moments in sports that happen that you say, yeah, if you wrote this in a movie script, people would be like, yeah, get out of here. This couldn't happen. One of my takeaways from that game in the immediate aftermath was, if you don't like sports after watching that, man, I can't help you. That was, I mean, the only word I can use to describe is magic. That just things you will only see in an NBA Finals. It was unbelievable stuff. Shout out to the New York Knicks. OG Anunoby, cool as a cucumber, as he tends to be, talked about his game-winning shot after the fact. Then we'll talk about the Spurs.
You just hit the game-winning shot in an NBA Finals game in front of your home crowd. How does that feel?
It feels cool. I mean, everyone's pretty excited. I'm excited too. I'm excited too. We're all excited. We're enjoying it right now, but we're just focused on the next game now.
Yeah, I just had one of the most iconic moments in the history of the history of the NBA, and it's really cool. It's fun, exciting. We're on to Game 5, and like you keep hearing the Knicks players say, you hear Brunson, Cat, Mikal Bridges, all these guys. It's 0-0. It's a 0-0 series. We're going into the next game, 0-0 series, and it's how they won 13 straight prior to Game 3. It's how they pulled this comeback last night. Just unreal stuff from the Knicks. Before we get to the Spurs, let's see, we got some comments here. Barry Grant Jr., All Even Podcast. Subscribe to his show. He does a fantastic job. When New York sports are on top, sports are better. The ratings show that. I mean, I know people get mad at the whole, big market conversation, or I know a lot of Thunder and Pacers fans a year ago. I mean, this series might go 5. That one last year went 7. What's the more iconic series? I know small market fan bases are like, we don't get enough love. And there's a part of that that's true. But I'm sorry, man. New York, LA, Boston, Miami, Dallas, like these, Chicago, like when their teams, when these cities win, or these cities teams win, I should say, it's just different. It is. The only, to me, exceptions that is like maybe the Packers, but there's a different reason for that. The town owns the team. I mean, college sports, it's kind of a similar thing. Most great college programs are in smaller towns, USC, UCLA, Miami, they're kind of the exception. Most of them are in small towns. Barry's right. It's 100% different. And the ratings do show that. I don't think the ratings have come out for game 4. I know Game 3 was like the most watched in since the 90s or something crazy. Like, the ratings show it. This has been unbelievable. My man John Rivera, fan perspectives in the comments. He just says, "Wow." I think that's how a lot of folks were watching this game. I was watching the game, like in my living room. My mom, shout out to my mom, she's the best. She likes basketball, but she more enjoys watching football, and so she kind of has the game on in the background, doing whatever, and She just texted me the eyeball emoji. I think it was after Brunson hit the shot to put the Knicks up with about a minute to go. And so we ended up watching the final minute. It's one of those sports moments. Certainly the people at the Garden feel this way. But one of those, you remember where you were when you saw it type of moments. I remember where I was, what I was doing when the Knicks pulled the greatest comeback in the history of the finals. That was special. Last comment before we move on to Spurs. Barry, most watched Game 3 since 1998. The Jordan and Utah Jazz finals, Last Dance series. Set the ESPN and ABC record for ratings. Listen, man, story, this is what part makes sports great as well. It's one of the greatest forms of storytelling there is, because we're watching the story play out in real time. There's no despite what some conspiracy theorists might say, there's no pre-planned script that the players are supposed to follow. I know that became a little bit of a joke, on social media and what have you. All-time magical stuff. Let's talk about the Spurs, though. Because for every all-time comeback, there's got to be an all-time choke. And that was almost worse than the Atlanta Falcons in 2017 against the Patriots. That was bad. This might have been worse. And I'll tell you why. Atlanta made mistakes, but there was an element of, but Tom Brady is on the other side. Eventually, Tom was going to get going. The Falcons didn't have that great of a defense during the regular season. Eventually, you didn't think the dam was going to break to where they blew a 25-point lead, but you thought maybe it'd get sort of close in the fourth quarter. San Antonio, first of all, they broke the finals record for threes made a half. I think they hit like 14 threes in the first half, if my numbers serve me correctly. 14 threes the first half. Dylan Harper couldn't miss. Stephon Castle's hitting threes, and Keldon Johnson, Champagne, all these guys. And they're up 27 at halftime. Third biggest halftime lead, I believe, in the history of the finals. I'm not saying just play this conservatively the rest of the way. Like, I always get mad if a team in the NFL is up 3 touchdowns midway through the third, and then they got a hot quarterback, and then they just start running the football nonstop. And it's like, well, there's got to be balance. You are playing the clock as much as you're playing the opponent, but there does need to be a little bit of creativity. Keep the other team on their toes. Maybe a screen pass, something. But also, it can't be just, hey, We're going to go to the finish line the way we got here. That's what drives me crazy about the Celtics is that, they could be down 20, up 20. They're going to keep jacking threes. That's how the Knicks came back on Boston in games 1 and 2 last year in the Eastern Conference semis. That's what happened with the Spurs. They took 17 threes and hit 3 of them. Like, eventually, once you go cold, eventually when you realize, hey, we got a 7-foot monster, more on him in just a second. We got a 7-foot monster who's borderline unstoppable down row. Maybe get him more touches. Maybe instead of off a make for the Knicks and now the crowd's getting back into it, instead of going down and this being the Mike D'Antoni 7 seconds or less offense and us jacking a 3, Vassell or Wemby or any of these guys, maybe slow it down, get a good shot, or crazy idea, Mitch Johnson. Just a suggestion. Garden's rocking, Knicks can't miss, and the momentum's completely shifted. Maybe use a timeout in the midst of this run. Just a suggestion. You don't get to carry those in the game 5. Use a timeout. Again, this is maybe not fair to Mitch Johnson, but the guy he's succeeding, Greg Popovich, Pop would have called timeout. He would have. He absolutely would have. If nothing else, maybe to get the starters out and put the backups in, and Pop would make statements like that sometimes. Mitch Johnson doesn't seem to kind of be his MO. And I know folks are understandably crushing De'Aaron Fox for what he did at the end of that game. For those who maybe didn't see it, first of all, I'm very, very sorry you didn't witness this. Knicks are down, or the Spurs are up 1. Castles just hit 2 more clutch free throws, just like he did in game 3. Spurs are up 1. I believe it was Brunson missed. Ball's loose, poked out into the backcourt. Fox goes to get it. He's got OG Anunoby trailing right behind him. With the Spurs up 1, he goes for a layup instead of bringing it back out, burning clock, getting fouled, and hitting some free throws. Now, the game is not over if he hits 2 free throws and they're up 3. Anything can happen, as we saw at the end of that game last night. But he goes for the layup. It's very similar. There was a game 7, I remember it was in the bubble, I think, between the Jazz and the Nuggets, where, was it, who was it for Denver? Was it Jamal Murray? Somebody shot a layup up 1 in a game 7 with like 10 seconds left, and then Mike Conley barely missed a game winner. It was almost a disaster for Denver. That's what it reminded me of. And of all the guys on the Spurs, of all the guards on the Spurs, that's the last guy I thought would have made this mistake. De'Aaron Fox, folks, he's the inaugural clutch player of the year back in 2023. This guy, along with Mike Brown, carried the Sacramento Kings to the darn playoffs as the 3 seed. Like, this guy's not someone who's scared of the moment. And I don't know if he panicked, he wanted to get greedy. He said after the game that he thought he could outrun OG. Listen, he could be Sonic the Hedgehog, and that's still not a smart play. Because, listen, I trust Castle at clutch free throws. I trust Fox at clutch free throws. Wemby, not so much. After what we saw last night, you putting yourself in a position where we can burn another 3 off, go up 3, and now the Knicks are going to call timeout, and we get to set our defense. With worst case scenario, if they hit a shot, that sucks. We got 5 more minutes of basketball instead of how it ended the way it did. Fox deserves a ton of blame for last night. He's the veteran. He cannot make that mistake. But am I crazy? Have I had my head in the sand? Because I don't think so. I've watched a lot of sports media today. Podcasts, TV shows, read articles. Yet to see anyone really blame Wemby. And folks, y'all know how I feel about Victor Wembanayama. I think he is. I literally said after game 1 against the Thunder, what do you have, 41 and 24, something absurd? Maybe the best game anybody's had all playoffs. I said the day after, that might be the best basketball player I've ever. Actually, I didn't say might. That is the best basketball player I've ever seen. If he's 22, what the heck's he going to be in the future? And I still maintain that. He's going to get better, of course. But if that were LeBron, if that were Steph, Michael, Magic, Burt, go down the list of Duncan, Dirk, Dwayne Wade, go down the list of the superstars from the last 25 years. Jokic, heck. I think everyone was kind of universal in ripping Jokic when the Nuggets lost to the beat-up Timberwolves in the first round. And I get it, he's 22. But there does come a different level of criticism that you do bring upon yourself, not just when you're a great player and you have a bad game in a big spot. Not even just when you're a great player and you have a bad moment at the end. Just you could show Wemby's numbers, and then we'll show you the stat that's really damning. So 24, 13, and 3 blocks is pretty good. But again, 9 to 25 for the field. Why he's taking 8 3-pointers, especially after he played in game 3, is beyond me. 4 of 7 for the free throw line, including 2 critical misses. When you are a Wemby and you're an all-time generational talent, As time goes on, we see it with all the generational talents. You're going to get criticism. You're going to get hate from people who are just sick of watching you dominate. Brady got it. Mahomes has gotten it. Braun got it. Like, that's how it works. People have a tendency to, hey, I'm sick of watching somebody dominate, and it turns to hate watch. And by the way, that's great for sports. That, I don't think, is why people should be criticizing Wemby the way they are today. Or should be today, I should say. Because I think it's been pretty quiet. But if you're a Victor Wembanayama, and listen, the old school mentality, I love it. I think a lot of people love it. I think it's great for the competition and the storytelling aspect of the NBA. We've been desperate to see who's the face of the league post Steph and LeBron. Probably going to be him. But when we have multiple instances in these playoffs of Wemby committing objectively dirty plays, and I know it, he's a sinner. Sinners tend to do that. Shaq did it. Jokic has done it. Kareem, I love Kareem. Kareem did it. But when you elbow Naz Reid in the jaw, could have been a lot worse than it was. You get a flagrant 2 for, what was that, game 4 of the second round against the Timberwolves. When you have that play, when you have the play in game 3 where you shove Brunson to the floor, listen, I had no problem with the NBA not giving him a suspension. That should have been a flagrant 1 objectively. Shoved a guy to the ground. That's not a basketball move. Then you had the flagrant foul in the second half against Cat. Unintentional, but it's still a flagrant foul. Then you have, as the Twitter sleuths have pulled up, he's setting a screen on OG. Awkward looking screen, if I do say so myself. I don't have the rights to show it, but, put a lot of weight. Wayne put a lot of weight in his lower body into OG's knee. Dangerous play. Could have hurt him really bad. When you have the dirty side of it, when you have the, do I have this written down? Yeah. When you have the element of, okay, you're going to talk trash. That's fine. I love that. Y'all know when people get mad at athletes, oh, this guy or this girl's arrogant, whatever. My response has always been, did they back it up? Because if they backed it up, then they were just stating a fact, doing it emphatically, but they were just stating a basic fact of how they played. Wemby's known to trash talk. Generally love that. We saw it happen. First half, Mitchell Robinson gets frustrated after getting scored by Wemby, shoves him to the floor, and Wemby gets up, pointing the head. I'm in your head. I'm in your head. I'm in your head. What did he do beyond that? It was bad. He was bad. After telling Mitchell Robinson he was in his head, he scored 11 points on 18 shots. He was bad. Missed multiple three-pointers, including one stretch where he shoots a 3, Spurs get the offensive rebound, they kick it back out to Wemby, shoots again. Again, that's just, it's bad basketball. It's dumb basketball. Pull it out and let's get a better look. Late in the game when the Spurs really need some free throws. Bricks both of them. Like, I'm sorry, like that, the criticism is going to come your way if you do bring it upon yourself. And so, also the element of, skipping pressers, which I'm not sure why the league didn't fine him for that. I know there's some folks saying, oh, there's some favoritism going on because Wemby's the golden child of the NBA. There might be some truth to that, but it just can't happen. You cannot be the face of the biggest choke job in the history of the NBA Finals. I mean, we can show you these numbers. If a team has been up, forget 27, 20 at halftime of a finals game, not only have they never lost prior to last night, they win in blowout fashion. Show you that graphic right now. So up 20 at half in the NBA Finals. 22 teams have been up at half in the NBA Finals. 22-0, all of them won by more than 10 points. By the way, I saw another stat that said they won an average by 21 points a game. The Spurs not only lost, the Spurs ended up losing the game by a point, as we saw last night. And Wemby talked after the game about the failure in this spot to capitalize on going or on time the series, going back to San Antonio, and then we'll get to another component of this.
Can't really explain it right now. I don't know. I think it's just, execution, greediness, some sort. We clearly weren't the most hungry in the second half.
There's truth to that. I thought I was texting a Knicks fan during the first half of the game. I said, the Spurs are pushing the Knicks around. This has been a physical series, but it's like the Knicks are just out of it in the first half. Not just they were missing shots, that San Antonio was just kind of pushing them all over the floor. There was a physicality gap in the second half, just in the sense that the Spurs wouldn't stop shooting threes. But also, man, it was, if you are Wemby, we talk about the trash talk, we talk about the dirty plays, we talk about skipping the press conference after, I think it was game 5 of the Western Conference Finals against the Thunder. This goes for the whole Spurs team. In particular, to me, the two best players in the Spurs, Victor Wembanayama, Stephon Castle. We talked about this at the end of Tuesday's show. The outward, you can call it confidence. Today, it kind of looks like arrogance when Malika Andrews asked Stephon Castle about their mentality going into Game 4, and he says this.
Do you walk into Madison Square Garden expecting to win Game 4?
Yeah, definitely. I expect us to win the next 3.
And that goes with the kind of a theme of the Spurs team that throughout this finals, lost Game 1, lost Game 2. Last night, confidence hadn't wavered a bit. Now, I'm not saying they're supposed to go to the press conference and be like, yeah, we're done. We're screwed. We're done. Finals are over. Give the Knicks the trophy now. Of course not. But there is a middle ground between, oh, the series is over, and, oh, yeah, we're fine. Nothing to worry about. I mean, you're down 3-1, and only one team's come back from 3-1 down to finals, and respectfully, love you, Wemby, you're not LeBron James yet. I mean, that's some level of saying, yeah, we got to be better. We have margin for error's gone. Got to win 3 straight games against a team that's at one point won 13 straight. So that criticism does come your way if you are Victor Wembanyama when there is this element of smugness, the dirty plays that he's kind of gotten to skate by with to a degree, as evidenced by the fact that he was not assessed a retroactive flagrant foul on the Brunson play in Game 3. The fact that we didn't even know until, I guess, either late last night or today when it was posted on social media from the kind of the sky cam angle, sets a screen and OG Anunoby almost blows out his knee, OG's knee. Like, if you are the face of the league now, if you are a guy who I think prior to these finals was not universally recognized, but I think majority of NBA fans, if you polled 100 NBA fans, 75 would say Victor Wembanyama is the best player in basketball. That can't happen. Straight up. Now, the good news is for Wemby, hey, and for the Spurs for that matter, because folks are saying, oh, this could break San Antonio. I don't think this is going to do that. Like, there's an element of, and maybe this is why they've answered the questions at the press conferences the way that they have, but there's an element of, man, they don't know enough to know, right? They don't, they're too ignorant of playoff experience, of closing playoff games, or of the fact that as a team this young, they really kind of shouldn't be in the finals to know any better. So I think they'll bounce back. I think they'll be great next year. Of course, they and the Thunder will be the co-favorites in the West, as they should be. But also at the same time, you put this target on your back, and if you're Wemby, listen, it's happened to all the great players. Magic Johnson, one time in 1984, was Tragic Johnson. Steph Curry led a team that blew a 3-1 lead in the finals. LeBron James disappeared in the 2011 finals. Michael Jordan was 1-9 in his first 10 playoff games and was awful at the end of the 1995 second round against the Magic. Nobody talks about that, but that did actually happen. It happens to everybody. So this isn't to say, I know the Jordan sycophants are saying, oh, see, this is why Wemby will never be the GOAT. He's 22. We got a long way before we get into that conversation. But Wemby's got to wear this. Fox has to wear it too. Castle, Vassell, all the guys who kept jacking threes, they got to wear it too. Mitch Johnson definitely's got to wear it. He's the coach. I mean, this is 2 out of 4 games in these finals in which the Spurs have been awful situationally. The end of Game 2 and then the entire, fourth quarter and half the third quarter last night. They got to wear this. But Wemby, if we give him the bulk of the credit when they do well, we definitely got to give him the bulk of the blame when he does not play well and comes apart in the final minutes. That's what it is. Let's go to the comments now. See what looks like Barry's in here. Barry, I'll do you one better. Fox double teamed the last play and didn't box out on the OG play. That is absolutely true. And, Tim Legler said it on the broadcast, and it's a universal rule in basketball. The most dangerous player on an inbound is the inbounder, because everyone's watching ball. Everyone's worried about their assignment, who's on the floor, and nobody's watching the guy for the back cut. That, folks, that's how the Celtics lost to the Heat. Remember that Game 6 in 2023, I think it was, when Derek White got the winner at the buzzer? I think it was Bam Adebayo. Didn't box out. Derek White inbounded on the play. So Some of that's coaching, but there's no question. Barry, Wemby same, extremely small. He's not ready yet. I think the Spurs, we can pull up a second comment. I think the Spurs are 2 years ahead of schedule, and in these situations, they're showing it. And there's a part of me that is, not even a part of me, there's a lot of me that's kind of kicking myself for being like, man, did I really just pick the Spurs just because I said they would beat the Knicks in the finals back in March? And that's why I picked them, despite they're ahead of schedule. But in terms of closing games between the two squads, I mean, even coming in this finals, everyone would pick the Knicks in those spots. That's one of the greatest sports moments I've ever seen in my life. So if you're a Knicks fan and you went through a half century or maybe a little less of struggles and of suffering, you thought last night was crazy. It does feel like, man, the Knicks are going to give everything they have in Game 5, of course. You ain't going to play with that. I mean, I saw something. This was last night. I don't know what it looks like today, but last night, 37% of the Game 5 tickets in San Antonio were bought by New York residents. So this is going to be, at best, a neutral site game for the Spurs, if not a soft Knicks home game. It does feel like they got to wrap it up at the Garden. Like, I think Knicks fans want it to happen at the Garden, but like, we just want it to happen. Like, they can't be selective about when they win the championship, obviously. But I think the basketball public, those who don't have a dog in this fight, are hoping, you know what? We hope San Antonio gets Game 5, so A, we get another game in the series, and B, so that if the Knicks win it, they can do it at the Garden, and the celebration will be all-time legendary. That was, man, oh man, what a game. All right, I'm going to take a break, a 1-minute break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Pierce DeLuna, host of the First and Tuna podcast, talks about the Los Angeles Rams, he reports, independent journalist for the Los Angeles Rams, talk about the Myles Garrett trade, talk about the idea that, is Aaron Donald going to come out of retirement and play for the Rams this season? Get to that later on, obviously. My top 10 moments in NBA Finals history. We've got Patrick Mahomes signing a contract extension, the first $500 million player in the NFL. And at the end of today's show, Game 5 predictions. Spurs, Knicks. Do the Knicks win the title, or do the Spurs force a Game 6? All of that coming up on the other side of this 1-minute break. Do not go anywhere. Got a ton coming your way. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Carving It Up. Joining us now is a special guest. He was with us back in October, unfortunately after a Rams loss to the San Francisco 49ers. Glad he's with us under better circumstances because it has been a very eventful offseason for his football team. He's the host of the First and Tuna podcast. Please welcome back Pierce DeLuna to Carving It Up Live. Pierce, my man, how are you been?
Carving it up, man. I mean, what better thing can you do on a beautiful, sunny Los Angeles morning? I'm carving it up with you. What's up, bro?
I appreciate it. Listen, it's been a crazy last 10 days for your Los Angeles Rams, to say the very least. Let's get into, obviously, the huge news with this. Myles Garrett was traded last week on June 1st from the Cleveland Browns to the Los Angeles Rams. And listen, somebody who covers the Rams through your podcast and on a number of other platforms, was this something that was on your radar, something that could potentially happen? I know June 1st there were some discussion about, hey, the Browns could trade into an NFC team, the Eagles, Cowboys, Rams, and it happened so fast, I think it caught everybody kind of off guard. Was this something that was on your or any Rams fans or media's radar?
I'll admit, up to the day it happened, everyone was kind of alluding post-draft, something could happen. Like, it was hinted at from McVay and Sean and Les Snead talking about, we're not done yet. Like, we've been all in. We still have picks. Like, don't worry about the Ty Simpson pick. It was like consoling a kid that didn't get what he wanted on his birthday. being promised by mom and dad that you're going to get something on Christmas. And we were the little kids that like didn't believe. And then Christmas came and we got something really cool. Me personally, the day of, like the hour it happened, I was about to finish an article about, hey, there's enough smoke here. There's too much evidence on the Browns side, on the Rams side, contract wise, and like just enough smoke that this could happen. And here's how they could do it. Before I could publish it, the trade happened. So I just had to throw it out. So that kind of gives you the answer on how close I was to the source on that one. The evidence there that kind of pointed towards, hey, this could actually happen for Rams fans or for any team in general, it was the contract clause. That was kind of the smoking gun for me, was when you go back and look at what they changed in March about his guaranteed money. I think the no trade clause got lifted, just all those little details. It was just a red flag of like, hey, they're probably truly exploring moving him somewhere. What teams make the most sense? The only thing that caught me off guard with all this, like, was the lack of first round picks. I expected, like, hey, we're not getting a first round pick until 2029, and I was okay with it. But Jared Verse leaving, that sucks. Like, a lot of people are torn up about it. Like, yes, we're happy Myles Garrett's here, but for 2 years, like, we've grown to know and love Jared Verse. He's gonna be great. He's gonna get like defensive player of the year votes throughout his career. Like, he's a very damn good player. So the Browns didn't lose this. It's just a weird situation overall for them with Myles Garrett post trade. But yeah, no, we're very happy. Feel like we won the offseason Super Bowl, if that's a real thing.
I mean, it kind of overshadows the fact that y'all got Trent McDuffie a few months ago, who's probably the best slot corner in football. Like, I mean, this is two great acquisitions on defense. And I think your point about the fact that it went under the radar because March, all the free agency news kind of all hit at once. Them, restructuring Myles Garrett's contract, it's like, okay, they're not doing this for no reason. There could be something here. I don't think any of us necessarily thought it would happen, again, June 1st, the second that they had an opportunity to make this move. But to your point, though, about the first-round picks, and Jared Verse might as well be a first-round pick. I think that was, he literally was, but also his production in the league. Do you see this? Again, Myles Garrett, we know who he is. He's led the league in sacks for multiple years of his career. He's first in sacks since he came into the league. I was talking to my show. I said, we know he's going to be great. I see this as a prime opportunity. And yes, I'm somewhat biased. You can see the Tennessee helmet behind me. I think this could be a big year for Byron Young as that number 2 edge rusher for the Rams. What do you kind of see from him? I know you remember, obviously, that Super Bowl run, Leonard Floyd was kind of a key figure on that defensive line with Von Miller and Aaron Donald drawing so much attention. What do you see coming this year from Byron Young? Because I think he led y'all in sacks last year, not Jared Verse.
He did, and that's kind of a little bit of a conversation amongst Rams fans, myself included, because what a lot of analysts, a lot of Browns fans are pointing to as a win from the trade is Jared Verse's pressure rate. Jared Verse is like top 10 in the NFL, or last year, I can't remember his rookie year as well, in pressure rate. He's a game changer. He's a game wrecker. He just hasn't been a closer on any given play and in the big moments in the fourth quarter. Where Myles Garrett obviously can finish because he broke the sack record in a single season. Myles Garrett or Jared Verse, like, he's got the pressures. I don't know if it was a speed thing. I don't know if it was a technique thing. Just he wasn't getting the sacks, but other guys were benefiting. So for guys like Byron Young, yeah, he's the first obvious choice to look at with the Myles Garrett effect, the same as the Aaron Donald effect, like you talked about. Seeing him get 12, 13, 14 sacks this year is a real possibility. I've been trying to tell fans that I think a bigger beneficiary of it is actually Kobe Turner. More likely the 3 technique, the interior defensive lineman that'll line up next to Myles Garrett. Point being, it's a contract year for him. He's a team captain, 2 or 3 years running now. He's one of the faces of the team that doesn't get as much spotlight, I think, national attention-wise. But he's a very underrated interior defensive lineman, one of the smartest, and he's been, one of the main tone setters when it comes to Chris Shula's defense, because they run a lot of 4-man, like, pressures only that requires a lot of stunts and blitzes. So the guy who's going to be running a lot of these stunts with Myles Garrett is Kobe Turner. And I just think that is just a recipe for disaster for other offenses. They're going to focus so much attention on Myles Garrett. I think the beneficiary is going to be Kobe. And he's not going to put up Aaron Donald numbers. He's not getting 20 sacks in the season. But if we left 2026 saying Kobe Turner had like 10 plus sacks and was, AP second team, I would not be surprised. Like he has the ability to do that.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Aaron Donald. We might as well get into that story because it's over the last few days. Adam Schefter is on his podcast saying like, yeah, it's probably more likely than not he's going to play this year. And it's so funny, Pierce. I remember when you were on the show in October, and I just threw out as a potential just galaxy brain, what the heck? Maybe this happens, maybe it doesn't. That what if Aaron Donald pulled the Eric Weddle, where it's sign with the team right before the playoffs and win a ring and then go back in retirement? And obviously it didn't happen, but it's been a discussion. Everyone has seen the workout videos. It's like James Harrison stuff on Instagram. He's obviously in phenomenal shape. Yeah. Do you think just 1 out of 10 chances that this happens? Because I know his wife posted the video, I think like soon after the trade, like, hey, he's kicked back on the couch. He's relaxing. He's good. But Aaron Donald certainly didn't close the door with his recent comments saying like, hey, you never know. It might could happen. Do you think there's a chance 1 out of 10 that he does come back? And if so, when do you think he does? Do you think it's during camp? Do you think it's midseason? How do you see that shaking out if it were to happen?
So that last part, I'll say that last part for the end because it's the least like fun to talk about. But as of my stream last night, I think I have fully talked myself into I'm upset if he doesn't come back at this point.
Okay.
I think there's too much smoke. I think there's too much coyness, and for as much as we give Sean McVay credit for his ability to just rattle off great points on the mic, and he's a great talker and a great listen, he's a terrible liar. Like objectively, he's awful at lying. Look at the draft, his face, like he could not hide it. He's just poor at it. Same with the Myles Garrett press conference when he was asked about Aaron Donald, like he couldn't shut up on his face like at all. Like they've talked more than they're letting on. So there's that. And I think the way this roster is built, it's deeper than just, oh, hey, Myles Garrett's here, come play with him. Objectively, like you're the opposing team's fan, like you're not a Rams fan. So I'm looking forward to see how your face reacts to this. I think the way that you lure someone like Aaron Donald out of retirement has to be more than just, oh, hey, it's cool you get to play with Myles Garrett. You just mentioned Trent McDuffie. We have Jalen Watson. You look at the rest of this just roster top down on paper. If you insert Aaron Donald into that, I think a selling point that Sean McVay and the team is giving Aaron Donald isn't just, hey, come just win a ring. I think it has to be more special than that. I think you have to sell him on, hey, we're trying to go perfect. We're trying to like never lose again until next year. And it sounds braggadocious. It sounds very full of hubris. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But on paper and what you're selling Aaron Donald, 1,000%, I think you're trying to sell him on that. You have a Shula on the coaching staff. You mean to tell me this has never been brought up at all?
That's interesting. Okay. Chris Shula. Yep.
Yeah, these egomaniacal head coaches that are in the NFL. These guys want the next thing, the next great thing. What's something that the minds of Sean McVay, Les Snead, Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, what's something that no one else has ever done? Like what's something next that we can go do? Like, yeah, you got to win a Super Bowl and get past Seattle, but that's last year. We're talking about now. I think you're selling him on, hey, let's go do something incredible. Like you don't tell Aaron Donald to come back for, help us out in the trenches. Sure. I don't think that's a selling point. The timetable for it, I just don't know. I know I had broken that news like around the same time as Trey Wingo. Like I had a source tell me, hey, Aaron Donald is actually considering this. Like it's a real probability. And then the next 24 hours, it just completely blew up. I don't have a timetable, and that's the only thing I'm curious on, because there's a lot of conflicting reports on would he do training camp. He seems the type that want to do training camp. Will he do the Eric Weddle like you mentioned? Like there's conflicting information on that I just don't know yet.
That's fair. I'm hearing you talk, hearing just as time goes on, like I would be very honestly kind of where you're at, very surprised if this doesn't end up happening. And to your point, and I mentioned this after the Garrett trade was finalized, this is even before we got any Aaron Donald updates, is that I think in the salary cap era, so the last 3 decades, basically, this is the best roster on paper that we've seen in some time. Like it rivals the 07 Patriots, any of those Seattle teams in the early 2010s. So that is a legit selling point. And one of the reasons that, or a thing that I think shocked a lot of Rams fans, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were in favor of the Ty Simpson pick. Correct me if I'm wrong, during this past draft. That was a pick where there was a lot of surprise, a lot of like, wait, this doesn't help the Rams, who are in win now mode, win this year. Now looking back, it's okay. They probably had an idea that they were going to be in the Myles Garrett sweepstakes and they were going to be giving up picks. Well, if Matthew Stafford retires next year, we're not going to have a first round pick to get a quarterback. And then we're, kind of back in, purgatory, so to speak. Your thoughts of a Ty Simpson pick? Do you think now it, makes a lot more sense after the Myles Garrett trade, or would you have been in favor of it without a Myles Garrett trade?
I was, and I still am. My feeling is cautiously optimistic with, I think I could summarize it as it better work.
Okay.
Just because, like, I see the vision. Like, I see it. I understand what they're trying to sell to the fans. My point is, it's not the fans' job to sit here and feel good about, oh, yeah, but we might be great in 3 years. Like, we might be stable post this Super Bowl window. Fans don't give a damn about that. Like, they want to like know, if I buy these tickets this year and I spend my like pretty much mortgage on going to go see Rams and Niners in Australia in week 1, are we going to be a good team and are we going to win the Super Bowl? That's all fans care about. And so that's why I'm a little cautiously optimistic when it comes to like the planning of it and everything. Yeah, they were trying to get Myles Garrett in 22. They were pretty close to getting a deal done with AJ Brown. I guess they just didn't like his medical. I guess that's the report that's out there right now. So it's easy after the fact to look back and be like, oh yeah, see, they always had it handled. But no, like, they could have not traded for Myles Garrett. It could have fallen through. Even without that, I was still okay with it, because heading into the season, I'm telling fans, let's say Matthew Stafford misses a game. Let's say he goes out for 4. Shit happens. It's football. I don't, knock on wood, don't want it to happen.
Sure.
But are you convinced that Stetson Bennett is going to come in and when you go 3-1 in any given month? Can he show up in the wild card and knock off Carolina like Matthew Stafford had to in the rain? Or would you rather see Stetson Bennett compete with a rookie, a first-round rookie, and you find out a lot more? You find out in competition who's actually got the shits with them to back up Matthew Stafford. You push Stetson Bennett with a rookie that you're touting and saying he's got all these intangibles and we love him so much. Well, you're about to find out real quick how much they really do like him and Stetson Bennett come training camp. I think because of that factor of Stetson, I'm a little bit of a bigger fan of it, because it's been a question. We had Jimmy G last year. It was like, can Stetson do it? Can Bennett do it? It's like, we don't know. So I guess we're going to find out really quickly here.
That's true. And staying on the offensive side of football, it feels like every year, every other year, there's always, so much buzz about this new whiz offensive coordinator. Obviously, Ben Johnson a couple of years ago with Detroit, this is the new, genius kid on the block. And you see what he's doing now in Chicago. I remember Kyle Shanahan back when he was in Atlanta. It's like, this guy is brilliant. I think a name that people are going to have to start getting to know very, very, very quickly is Nate Scheelhaase. I was as big of a supporter of his during the hiring cycle. I wanted the Steelers to bring him in. Young, offensive-minded coach. The Sean McVay tree, as you know very well, quite good over the first decade of McVay's career. Your thoughts on Scheelhaase? Do you think this is probably do you think if this season goes well enough that he is not on the Los Angeles Rams next year because he's a head coach? How do you see this playing itself out? Because I absolutely love this dude. Look,
it's that Sean McVay effect. What was the joke? If anybody who's bought McVay a coffee is a coaching hire. I once said hello to Coach at training camp. So hey, I'll throw my hat in for Pittsburgh if McCarthy doesn't work out.
I'll take him.
Yeah, a little background on Scheelhaase to get you a little bit more pumped up. And I'm sure you know this already, but the whole 13 personnel revolution that kind of happened for the Rams last year, it was very, very fun. Kind of took everybody a little bit surprised of how much they used it. Nate Scheelhaase gets a lot of that credit. Him, Scooter Huff, Ryan Wendell, the O-line coach, and then the tight end coach, respectively. They were the big proponents that put together 13 personnel packages, presented it to Sean McVay, to Mike LaFleur, and said, hey, let's, out of need because we had injuries, let's utilize this. And then they go to London and tear it up, and, Devontae Adams has a hat trick, and they're basically in goal line personnel the entire time. And a lot of that credit goes to Scheelhaase, and that's why he's the OC now. He beat out Dave Ragone, the quarterback's coach, and that's another factor on the Ty Simpson thing is it was planned. Like they told Dave, hey, we're going to need you here, and they didn't really say why, but they chose to keep Dave in the quarterback's room for a specific reason. And like McVay mentioned it, and then Ty Simpson gets picked, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like you need consistency for a rookie quarterback with an actual your quarterback coach. Shieldhouse, if this season goes deep into the playoffs, if like Matthew Stafford doesn't even have to win an MVP, I think this team just has to look really damn good, be a top 10 offense, and like look like they know what they're doing with 13 personnel. Like just look different from other teams. That's really going to pick up everyone's radar. That's an owner, a GM. They're going to look at the Rams offense and go, that's so cool. Like we want that in our city. Like we can sell tickets with that. We can get buy-in and get a good quarterback in here in the first round and make things happen with Nate Shieldhouse. And then like all the intangibles, like just how he talks, how he speaks. He kind of sounds like a McVay brainchild, but he's been that way since he was over at Iowa State. Just a damn good football coach. He's super nerd. And I think some NFL franchise next year is going to steal him away for sure. Maybe I don't put my name in for Pittsburgh. Maybe I just put my name in for the Rams, because if they do all this stuff that they're trying to do and they go all Hollywood and win a Super Bowl, that house is going to be empty. Like, yeah, well, I mean that's Shula's gone, Shieldhouse is gone. Hell, Dave Ragone might be gone. Like we don't know. It happens every year. But are you? I want to ask you a question in return. Okay. I was surprised McCarthy decided to come back and coach again. Makes sense with the Aaron Rodgers kind of relationship. Sure. Is there hype in Pittsburgh right now? Like, how are you guys feeling about that? Because from California, I see it as like, man, I don't know. Like, I got to see it from McCarthy. Rodgers can still sling it. I'm not worried about that. But just the offense in general is kind of what I'm curious about how you feel.
So, listen, initially I was kind of upset about it, hand to God, because I wanted Shieldhouse. Like, that was number one on my list. If it wasn't him, if we wanted to go defensive coach, Brian Flores obviously would have been my number one choice. He was on, Tomlin's staff a couple of years ago. I kind of rationalize it in the sense that, okay, we know what McCarthy's weaknesses are. Clock management and play calling can be a little archaic behind the times. Like, and we know Aaron Rodgers doesn't like to use motion, so that might work in tandem, offensively. The thing that I kind of rationalize is, okay, we took Maxi Iheanacho with our first-round pick. We need help on our offensive line, and he's a project offensive lineman. McCarthy's good at developing O-lines, and we know he's good at developing quarterbacks. So, listen, I don't know about Drew Aller as the future of this franchise, but I like the fact, the reports I'm hearing from Pittsburgh, and that they're kind of breaking it back down to the fundamentals and trying to almost like learning how to walk again to a certain degree. I view McCarthy as very much kind of a transition type of coach, like maybe 2 or 3 years and then bring in the guy to be here hopefully for a decade plus. So it's Pittsburgh fans, I think, are very kind of meh about it. It feels like almost an extension of Tomlin just on the offensive side of the ball. But I'm willing to give the guy a shot. I think he did a decent job in Dallas. Dak had his best year of his career with Mike McCarthy. So as long as he can develop the quarterbacks, develop the O-line, I would consider a success. But it does feel like 9-8, 10-7 is on the board again for 2026, which, being stuck in mediocrity is not great. So, that's where I'm at in the McCarthy thing. But I would take Shieldhouse very, very, very happily as you want.
You're gonna have to wait. You're gonna wait your turn.
I probably will have to. That's for sure. And to your point, though, and then we'll get to my last question. But to your point, man, so much of being a head coach in this league is obviously inspiring confidence of locker room, but is being great at the podium. I mean, McVay's first press conference, like, who the heck is this dude? He blew people away right off the bat. You watch Shieldhouse's pressers, it's like, oh my gosh, he looks like a head coach right now. So I think he's going to be sensational. Last question before we get out of here, Pierce. I appreciate you stopping by. If the Rams win the Super Bowl, is this it for Stafford? Does he hang it up? 2 Super Bowl rings, won both of them at SoFi, won an MVP last year. I imagine he'll be a candidate this season. Is he like, you know what? First bout Hall of Famer, I'm out.
Damn. The one question I can't research my way out of this hole. I said it, I got to stick to my guns. I can't flip-flop. I said last year that if they did go all the way, they beat Seattle and then beat New England and won, like in Santa Clara, like what better way to go out than that? Like in a rival stadium, raising Lombardi and just saying like, I'm out. Like I'm good. Do the John Elway.
Yep.
Like with it being in LA, I hold the same like values. It's right here in my backyard. I'm super excited. Like you put all the pieces together. You go to Hollywood. You get Myles Garrett. You get Aaron Donald back. You go raise a Lombardi. Get the fuck out. Like go. Like go home. You got like 18 kids. Go home. Go watch your kids. Go coach their youth football team. Go into your next endeavor, whatever it's going to be. And this is fully. I don't care about like the team side of it. Teams figure it out. Like if we got to be okay for a year or two afterwards while we sort out, Ty Simpson and everything, I'll deal with it. I think if you win a championship, you're willing to accept a 2022 season like we had and like just all right, hey, we got a Lombardi out of it. But for his sake, he's always been one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch, even prior to coming to LA. I played way too much Madden as a kid and always picked him in fantasy drafts because I was like, I'll save him. I can fix him. Like I'll rescue him from that toxic relationship. And I was probably one of the happiest people when he came to LA because I understood like, hey, this is like life-changing as a fan. And I've been right for the last 5 or 6 years, which is really cool. I don't want to see one of my heroes go off that inevitable cliff that Father Time always hits us with. I don't want to see him have that Peyton Manning final year where he comes in on any given drive. He's like, hey, yo, I can't feel my hand. We're running the ball this drive. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see one of my favorite people to ever play, to lift the football, be crippled when they're older. Like, hey, if you can go out in year 18 with the Super Bowl and you feel happy and you're a first ballot Hall of Famer, thank you for your service. Don't come back. Stay home.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, like to your point, like Peyton Manning was brutal his last year. Drew Brees kind of had a rough last season with the Saints.
Oh yeah,
Brady was good at the end in Tampa, but far cry from the year before when he could have won league MVP. Rodgers has fallen off, so like there's that almost that mystique of when a guy steps away, a Barry Sanders or Aaron Donald prior to potentially coming back, or Calvin Johnson, where it's, man, they retired at the top of their game. What more could they have given? And it almost boosts your legend to a certain degree. And if Stafford, throws 38 touchdowns, wins the Super Bowl, like there's that element for him. Like, man, could he have gone another 3 years? So there's definitely that component to it.
I'll say this, and I'll add to it. It's a random thought I constantly have is like, what makes Stafford different than these older guys? Because I feel like at some point we would have seen like, that pass isn't fitting in there as quickly as it used to a year ago. I think a little bit is his willingness to accept change and the Sean McVay effect. Like Stafford has changed his technique since coming to LA. Like it's gotten tighter. Him and Dave have worked together. And I think that constant evolution of his technique and like trying to be just the best professional he can be every year, like that kind of keeps you spry. And I hate to talk about him like he's 60, but also like to add to the Sean McVay effect, like if you have a head coach, if you have a partner that's constantly like evolving, pushing, trying to get the next thing, you're not looking back, you're looking forward. Like it kind of keeps you young. And it's almost like, like you go to a retirement home, like the folks doing the best are the most active, the most like all these things that translate from the senior citizen community. The same thing is applying here to older quarterbacks. Like if you've got someone pushing you and you're still working and, you're like, I've met 80-year-olds. I'm like, are you sure you're not like 50? That's the feeling I get from him. And it's because of those effects of being willing to change his technique, being willing to push. Like he's the smartest he's ever been. And the technique is matching it. It's crazy. Well,
I mean, that's the thing with a lot of guys. Like it's, that's what, made Tom so special at the end of his career. And is that, and even Rodgers, through points of his late 30s, where it's, once you've seen enough defenses, you've seen enough in your career, the mind's only going to get stronger. It's whether the body can be able to match that. The fact that those kind of intermingled with Stafford is what's made him, a top 3 quarterback at the very least in the NFL. All right, Pierce DeLuna, great stuff. Before we get out of here, where can people find you?
Over on YouTube, just as the name says, First and Tuna. We're over on Instagram and Twitter as well. You're just rambling off nonsense like always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great stuff. Pierce DeLuna, First and Tuna Podcast. Check it out. We'd love to have you back on the show sometime, my man. Appreciate it. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. Appreciate everyone stopping by on this special Thursday show. Another thank you to Pierce DeLuna. Great stuff. Like I said earlier, he was on our show back in, I think it was October. It was after a Thursday night football game between the Rams and Niners. And I remember, I'm like, we're going to bring Pierce on. It's going to be right after a Rams win. Because if you remember, that was the game where the Niners roster, they dealt with their fair share of injuries, but just absolutely decimated. Mac Jones was starting. It was like Christian McCaffrey and a bunch of who the heck are these guys? And I think the Rams ended up losing that game in overtime. And so we had him on. It was, less favorable circumstances than I'm sure he would have liked, but great guy, great content. Definitely check his stuff out. He is an outstanding source when it comes to the Los Angeles Rams. So shout out to Pierce DeLuna as always. Love to get him back on the show. Hopefully, maybe during training camp, during the football season, be an absolute blast. So going back to the NBA Finals, the OG Anunoby play has been replayed 1,000 times 1,000 in New York City alone, much less the rest of the country and the world. And it got me thinking, in the moment I was thinking, what that game meant to New York City. I'm thinking, what does this mean among New York sports moments? But then I'm like, you know what? Shout out to my buddies, Alfred Parsons Jr., Barry Grant Jr., John Rivera. Shout out to my friend Sophia from Jersey. There's plenty of people who are far more qualified to do a list like that than I am. So I thought, I probably, of the major American sports, the three major American sports, so NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball, by a hair over the NFL, I probably know more about the history of the NBA than, certainly more than baseball and a little bit more than the National Football League. So it got me thinking about finals and great performances and iconic moments. Where does the OG Anunoby moment rank among the greatest moments in the history of the NBA Finals? And we'll give you the list right here. Let's get the background music going and rank the top 10 moments in NBA Finals history. Here we go. We will start at number 10, the 10th greatest moment in finals history. We got to go back to 1997. Michael Jordan's flu game leads the Bulls to a win in Game 5 over the Utah Jazz. So it's known as the flu game. There's still debate to this day. Did Michael actually have the flu? Was it a hangover? Was it food poisoning? Remember, it was the big pizza story told during The Last Dance. What we do know is, without a shadow of a doubt, he was sick as a dog. He was sweating. He's throwing up. He was weak, didn't feel well. And it's a 2-2 finals against a Jazz team, obviously, with Stockton and Malone in that squad. It's in Utah, in Salt Lake City. Michael Jordan, well under the weather, is playing 44 minutes. What does he do? Drops 38 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, gives you 3 steals, and goes to the line. Bulls are down 1 in the final, 40 seconds of the game. They're down 1. Jordan hits a free throw, then misses the second. Kukoc grabs the offensive rebound, and then Michael Jordan eventually hits the game-winning three-pointer with 25 seconds left. The image we showed you right there is the one that's seared into everybody's minds, where Pippen is almost carrying him off the court. He's so exhausted. It's one of the greatest performances ever in finals history and of Jordan's career. Bulls went on to win in 6. That was the Steve Kerr game-winning jumper. Shout out to Coach Kerr. That is the 10th greatest moment, the flu game in NBA Finals history. Number 9 actually came not in a loss, but when his team ended up losing the series. Who could forget Allen Iverson stepping over Ty Lue and upsetting the Lakers in 2001. So AI stepping over Ty Lue 2001, that's our 9th greatest moment of the finals. So, what gets sort of, I don't know if say forgot about this, but everyone remembers that moment. Allen Iverson scored 48 points in this game. He was the league MVP this year in 2001. That Los Angeles Lakers team is one that I personally consider to be the 2nd greatest basketball team of all time over everybody except for the 2017 Warriors. I think 17 Warriors versus 01 Lakers would be the greatest series in the history of the NBA. Over the 96 Bulls, 83 Sixers, 86 Celtics, throw out however you want. Lakers in 01 crushed everybody. Shaq was unreal. Kobe was kind of stepped into being a true superstar in the league. Loaded roster, Phil Jackson, and this little 6-foot guard who had won league MVP, who carried a Sixers roster. I mean, go back and look at that team, man. That team had no business being in the finals, much less handing the 01 Lakers their only loss in the entire playoffs, and he capped it with the most iconic moment of his career. He crosses over Ty Lue, breaks his ankles, knocks it down, looks down at him, and just steps right over him. It's one of the greatest moments, certainly of the 21st century in the finals and of the finals history. AI stepping over Ty Lue, dropping 48 in the Lakers, 9th greatest moment in finals history. This next moment also comes against the Los Angeles Lakers in a game that this guy's team lost. At number 8 on Bryson's Best 10, it is Isaiah Thomas scoring 25 points in the third quarter on a bad ankle, 1988 Game 6 against the Lakers. That is our 8th greatest moment of the finals. So Isaiah Thomas, who's to this day, I think one of the most underrated players in the history of the NBA. This man beat 3 of the, 8 greatest players ever in their prime in the playoffs. He beat Michael Jordan in the playoffs. He beat Larry Bird in the playoffs. He beat Magic Johnson in the playoffs, all of which when they were in their prime at various points of his career. That Pistons team in 1988, the Bad Boy Pistons, we remember that. Isaiah Thomas rolls his ankle, guts it out, scores 25 in the third quarter, 43 for the basketball game. The Pistons end up losing. They could have won the title that night. They end up losing on a very controversial foul against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This was Kareem's second to last year in the league. Kareem sinks the free throws. Isaiah can't play in Game 7. James Worthy has the triple-double, and the Lakers end up beating Detroit. And it's just one of those, it's the greatest probably playing through injury moment that we've seen as far as the overall start-to-finish performance that we've seen. Isaiah Thomas could have, if he's able to, if they don't call a foul on Kareem and the Pistons end up winning that thing, is Detroit three-peat? Because remember, they went on to win in 89 over the Lakers and in 1990 over Portland. We talk about the three-peat Bulls and the three-peat Lake. They could have done it as well. So shout out to Isaiah Thomas, one of the greatest playing hurt performances ever. Shame that they weren't able to win that basketball game, but that's at number 8. The 7th greatest moment, another playing through injury moment in finals history, was the greatest Knicks finals moment ever prior to last night. It is, of course, Willis Reed, his inspirational return, propelling the New York Knicks in 1970. So, listen, it's an iconic moment in the history of the NBA Finals that goes up saying. That was against the Lakers in 1970. The Knicks had never won a championship at that point. Willis Reed, Game 5, tears a muscle in his right quad. It's like, I think it was his thigh, actually. It was his quad. His thigh. He misses Game 6. He's the best player on the Knicks. It's like, God, is he going to be able to make it in Game 7? Yes, he is. Moments before the game, he walks on the court. Everyone knows the image. He's walking out of the tunnel. The Garden is going crazy for his return. Playing not even close to 100%. Hits the first 2 shots of the game. Doesn't score another point the rest of the game. But that kind of propelled the Knicks to an emotional Game 7 win. Walt Clyde Frazier dropped 36, 19, and 7 in his own right, so he was special. Willis Reed gunning it through the injury. Greatest Knicks finals moment ever prior to last night. That's at number 7 of this list. At number 6, going back to 1980, Game 6, Magic Johnson jumps center and wins a title for the Los Angeles Lakers in 1980. So for those that don't know, Magic Johnson, obviously at this point, by hair over Steph, the greatest point guard of all time. Rookie year, has a good rookie season, but finishes second, I believe, to Larry Bird that year by a pretty wide margin. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is outright abusing the Philadelphia 76ers, led by Dr. J. Kareem in that series averaged, 33 and 13 with 4 blocks. He is crushing. Had a big Game 5 to go up 3-2 in the series. But then he he gets hurts his ankle, but it was, misses Game 6. Magic Johnson, a rookie point guard, 6'9", jumps center, drops 42 in the game to beat Philadelphia, give the Lakers their first title in over a decade, or I guess a little less than a decade. Magic Johnson, unbelievable moment. It's kind of the big time moment. There's the baby hook in 1987, I believe it was. Plenty of iconic Magic Johnson moments. That's probably number 1 on the list, beating a great Philadelphia team in 1980. That's at number 6 on this list. Now moving to the top 5, and we get to last night. OG caps the greatest finals comeback ever in 2026. We saw what happened. It happened less than 24 hours ago at the time of us going live. So the Knicks, they're down 29 first half of this game, down 27 at halftime, and then go on the greatest comeback in finals history. OG Anunoby, in his own right, we had the graphic from earlier, or maybe we don't have it. Anyways, he scored 33 points, 10 of 15 from the field, 7 of 9 from 3, 6 of 6 from the charity stripe. And Jalen Brunson misses the shot off front rim. OG Anunoby, not boxed out, as Barry pointed out in the comments, by De'Aaron Fox, comes in, just hits his hand just high enough to tip the ball into the basket. Knicks end up winning by a point in the greatest moment in the history of Madison Square Garden. And I think that's saying a lot, given what that building has seen and when it comes to pro sports. OG Anunoby, this understated star, I think it's fair to say, for this Knicks team, might win finals MVP. Only time will tell if that is the case. but just gets the Garden into a frenzy. It could have led the Knicks to their first title since 1973, 53-year drought. Unreal stuff. To watch it live was incredible. I cannot even imagine what it was like watching it at Madison Square Garden. OG, the tip, and that's what ranks the 5th greatest moment in NBA Finals history. At number 4, this one freaking hurts to this day. The shot by Kyrie Irving over Steph Curry wins it for the Cavs in 2016. Oh, gosh. And, of course, there's another moment that we're going to get to we haven't gotten to yet from that Game 7 in 2016. So, Warriors-Cavs, I always kind of laugh at people saying, oh, that was an all-time great series. No, it was a great Game 7. There was a lot that happened in that series. Games 1 through 6 were all blowouts. Warriors crushed the Cavs in Games 1 and 2. Cavs crushed Golden State in Game 3. Warriors didn't blow them out in Game 4, but kind of pulled away late. Game 5, Cavs won by 15. Game 6, Cavs started that game up 31-9, won the game. Game 7 is a back and forth, just slugfest. Neither team can score. There's a 3-minute drought between both teams. Steph can't make a shot. Bron can't make a shot. And Kyrie Irving says, give me the freaking basketball. Let me get the one-on-one matchup with Steph Curry. Goes into his, through the legs, step to the right, step back 3 over Steph Curry. Watching that game live as a Warriors fan, there were still 50 seconds left in the game. Cavs were up 3. I knew in that moment, game's over. I knew in that moment, Warriors couldn't do anything offensively. The game was over. Kyrie, second clutchest shot to me in the history of the finals, is the 4th greatest moment in the history of the NBA Finals. And the clutchest shot in finals history is at number 3. It is Ray Allen, saving the Miami Heat season back in 2013. That was Game 6 against the San Antonio Spurs. Ray Allen at number 3 in this list. So a lot of people remember it. The Spurs were just seconds. If they had just kind of similar to the Spurs last night. Sorry, San Antonio fans. It's been a rough segment for you. San Antonio's up by 4 with about 20-odd seconds left in the game, about 30 seconds left in the game. Manu Ginobili goes to the free throw line. Goes 1 of 2. Come down the other end. LeBron hits a 3, cuts it to 2. So there's a 1 point left on the board by Manu Ginobili and the Spurs. Then you go to the other end. Kawhi Leonard, who's a second-year player at that point, gets fouled. 1 of 2 from the line. So now the door's open for Miami to tie this thing up. Braun misses a 3. Chris Bosh, one of the greatest offensive rebounds of all time. Why Duncan? Tim Duncan was on the floor. No one will ever know that. Kicks it out to Ray Allen. Behind the line, nothing but the bottom, nothing but net, tying the game from downtown. Heat went on to win that game in overtime. Braun had the amazing triple-double, or he had a triple-double in Game 6. I think it was 38, if I'm not mistaken, in Game 7 against the Spurs to win that championship. Heat went back-to-back. You just cannot dream of a more clutch shot in that moment. Not just the fact that the Heat had to rally in the 4th quarter, but in the sense that you missed the shot, the game is over. And this dude, just in motion, no hesitations, one of the greatest shooters ever is Ray Allen, knocks it down, ties the game. Heat go on to win that finals. 3rd greatest moment in the history of the NBA Finals. And now, number 2 moment, still hurts to this day. The block by LeBron James helps the Cavs break the curse in 2016. So Bron's block, second greatest moment in the history of the finals. We all remember where we were when it happened. I certainly do as a Warriors fan. Again, just like with the Kyrie situation, slugfest, neither team can make a shot. Kyrie actually takes an off-bounce floater, airballs it. Warriors come back the other way. Iggy and Steph, 2-on-1. It's like Iggy, Steph, 2-on-1 against J.R. Smith. And then out of nowhere, whoa, here comes LeBron, pins the basketball against the rim. Andre Iguodala's shot against the rim. Cavs a minute later get the shot from Kyrie and win the championship. I've always found it amazing that LeBron, for the all-time great offensive player that he is, and he's one of, if not the greatest passer ever, he's the all-time leading scorer. The greatest play of his career is a block. Now, LeBron's an all-time great defender in his prime, but that's not the first thing we think of when we think of LeBron is defense necessarily. That's the first play we think of when we think about LeBron James. All-time stuff, that was the first moment, honest to God, of the whole series, even in the midst of the Warriors' collapse, that I truly thought, holy crap, we're going to lose this thing. Bron did that, one of the greatest championships in history. Cleveland come back from 3-1 down to beat the 73-win Warriors. Hurts me to this day, and Bron did that. It's for some, it made him the greatest player ever. For me, it was when he became the all-time leading scorer. Neither here nor there. Then we go to the greatest moment in the history of the NBA Finals. Michael Jordan, the shot, caps The Last Dance in 1998. Again, there was a whole documentary centered around this very moment. So, folks remember about that series is rematch Bulls, Jazz, The Last Dance for Chicago. There was a documentary, obviously 6 years ago. But I always say, in most of Michael Jordan's championships, in the finals per se, the Bulls were the better team in all of them. 91 against the Lakers, 92 against Portland, 93 against Phoenix, 96 against the Sonics, 97 against the Jazz. They were the better team in all 5 of those. Like, it's one of the reasons that I have Braun just a hair over Jordan is Braun beat some outright stacked teams to win championships. Jordan never really did. 1998, the Jazz were better than the Bulls. First of all, they were better than them in the regular season, better record, which is why they had home court in that finals, but also the element of Stockton's in his prime. Malone's a year away from winning another league MVP. And that Bulls team, man, Scottie Pippen gets hurt early in the game. Dennis Rodman's a shell of himself. The Bulls bench wasn't that good. Like, that team was, man, they were running on fumes. It's why I reject the idea that if they had brought the team back that they would have won in 99. No, they wouldn't have. They were out of gas at that point. And Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest player ever, pulls it out of the fire, drops 45 points out of 87 points that the Bulls scored. Scored over half their points. Gets the down 3, gets the layup, then steals it from Karl Malone, and then the shot heard around the world. A little bit of a push off on Brian Russell, knocks down the shot, nothing but net, holds the pose. 5 seconds later, he's holding up the 6 fingers. It is the most iconic moment in the history of the NBA Finals. Michael Jordan, the greatest moment among 10 in the history of the NBA Finals. I was born in 2003, so I was not alive for really most of these. But 98, it doesn't get better than that. It would have been even more iconic if Jordan never comes back for the Wizards. And those years were Washington never made the playoffs. Jordan was out of shape, inefficient. That's one of the things that people don't give Jordan enough credit for, in my opinion. And a case you can make for him being the GOAT is this is a shooting guard whose, what was his career shooting percentage? It had to be in excess of 50%. Like, this guy didn't miss much. Let's put it that way. And it was cinematic in many ways. I mean, I think ESPN right after The Last Dance, if I'm not mistaken, made a whole documentary just around Game 6. Like, they had mic'd up on the sidelines. I mean, it doesn't get more iconic than that. Michael Jordan wins the 6th title, holds the 6 fingers, hits the game-winning shots, his final shot ever as a Chicago Bull. Again, it's all-time stuff. So go back over the list, then we'll get to Patrick Mahomes' 10 greatest moments in finals history. Number 10, back to Michael Jordan, the flu game in 1997. At number 9, AI steps over Ty Lue. Don't you miss that was what we knew AI for. Number 8, Isaiah Thomas scoring 25 in the 3rd quarter against the Lakers on a bad ankle. Number 7, Willis Reed coming back on the torn thigh to inspire the Knicks to a win. Number 6, in Game 6, Magic Johnson jumps center, steps in for Kareem, leads the Lakers to a title with 42 points. Number 5, last night, OG Anunoby tipping in the game winner to cap the greatest finals comeback of all time in Game 4 this year. Number 4, Kyrie Irving's shot wins it for the Cavs in 2016 Game 7 over the Warriors. Number 3, Ray Allen saves the Heat against the Spurs Game 6 2013. Number 2, the block by LeBron James leads the Cavs to break the curse in 2016. And number 1, the shot by Michael Jordan caps the Last Dance, leads the Bulls to their 6th title in 8 years, and caps the second three-peat in 1998. The 10 greatest moments in the history of the finals. We haven't done Bryson's best 10 in a minute. I figured after last night, you're like trying to stack it up against the all-time finals moments. I have it at number 5. I have it in the top 5. It's if you told a Knicks fan that there would be a moment in the series that would surpass what Willis Reed did in 1970, you'd say, well, yeah, maybe Jalen Brunson hitting a game-winning shot in Game 6 at home at the Garden to win a championship, which, hey, maybe that might still happen. They would not have guessed this. Again, like I said earlier, it's one of those you remember where you were type of moments. It was unreal stuff. Okay, let's move on to the NFL. Back to the NFL. Talked to Pierce DeLuna earlier about the Rams. Let's talk about some Patrick Mahomes news. So Patrick Mahomes just made himself a lot of money, to say the very least. So according to Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, all the major sources, we can pull this up here, I think. Adam Schefter, do we have it? Maybe. There it is. Okay. Adam Schefter, that Patrick Mahomes signed a contract extension that would pay him in totality over the breadth of his deal $504 million up until 2033. $504.75 million. It is added 2 years to his contract extension. It's the first ever $500 million deal in the history of the NFL. So, listen, if there's one guy currently playing that has earned this, I think it's fair to say it would be Patrick. I think in the minority of NFL fans, and I think folks, as time goes on, will come to my side of the argument, he's got a ways to go to catch Brady. Brady's resume is, it doesn't even make sense how legendary it is. But Patrick Mahomes is, if we can pull this up potentially, the playoff resume, I think we have it. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Hopefully we do. I'm thinking. Let's see if we can see if this is it. Because if we've got the graphic, he's the second. Is this it? Okay. He's the second greatest playoff quarterback ever, indisputably. You can show those numbers. Mahomes in the playoffs. He's first in win percentage and passer rating and in completion percentage. He's second in total yards per game, second TD interception ratio, second in playoff wins. And he just now turned 30. Second in game-winning drives. Again, a lot of these seconds are to Tom Brady, of course. 5 Super Bowl appearances, that's second. He's tied for fourth in Super Bowl wins, tied for second in Super Bowl MVPs. He has gone to 7 conference championship games. That is second, of course, to the great Tom Brady. So I hear the arguments for Peyton. Most MVPs, 5. Peyton has a lot, and I love me some Peyton Manning as a Vols fan. Peyton has some really bad playoff losses in his career. Like with some of those excellent Colts offenses just went stagnant in some of those playoff games. Joe Montana is the only guy I'll hear an argument for at number 2. That's probably the guy most folks have as the second greatest quarterback ever to Brady, just because, hey, 4-0 Super Bowls, never threw an interception in a Super Bowl. I get that. What Patrick, A, can do physically, and that matters, but B, the clutch gene that this guy has shown year after year after year in the playoffs. There's the 24-0 comeback on the Texans. There's the 13-second game against the Buffalo Bills. There's the fact that all 3 of his Super Bowls have been won on game-winning drives, including the overtime one against the 49ers. There's the game against Philly where he's on a bad ankle, down 10 at halftime. Chiefs literally scoring every single possession in the second half to win. Mahomes, to me, is the second greatest quarterback ever. But what should we expect from him moving forward? It's hard to project. How good will Patrick Mahomes be in 2033? Hard to tell. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, much less 8 years from now, or 7 years from now. Here's what I'll say. I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the Chiefs going into 2026. Obviously, after what was kind of for them the year from hell, they won 6 games, lost a bunch of close games after winning a bunch of close games, infamously in 2024. Mahomes blew his ACL. But the element of Kelce coming back. Travis Kelce is not the guy that he used to be, but he's still a top 5 tight end in the league, and the numbers bear that out. He's top 5 in virtually every category among tight ends. Yards per catch, catches, touch. He's still an excellent player. You get Kenneth Walker, to me, was one of the key additions of the offseason. Now, is this one of those scenarios where guy in a contract year, not just win Super Bowl MVP, but helps the team win a championship, maybe gets overpaid? Maybe. But Mahomes has never had a great running game his entire career. That's partly what also adds to kind of the great, legacy of Mahomes has had good, not great O-lines, never had a good running game to rely upon. This year, I think he should. And I think it's really key for the Chiefs, especially because as time goes on, it looks like he's going to be ready week 1. You saw that tape of him at OTA. He's moving pretty well, and that was May. And the season don't start till September, obviously. So I think it's a Monday night game against the Broncos. Not just that, getting Kenneth Walker, but for years, one of the more polarizing, not necessarily popular debates, but polarizing debates in the National Football League the first 5 years of Mahomes' career. How much does Eric Bieniemy have to do with his success and have to do with the Chiefs' offensive success? Here's what I know. From 2018 to 2022, Patrick Mahomes not only won 2 Super Bowls, went to another Super Bowl, but won 2 league MVPs. Threw 50 touchdowns his first year as a starter, led a Chiefs offense. And this was, to me, the greatest accomplishment of Mahomes' career was 2022. That Chiefs offense, Kelce was still in his prime. They didn't have nobody outside of that. It was Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore. I mean, who are these guys? Leads him to the number 1 offense of football and wins 14 games. League MVP. That was Bieniemy's last year. What have we seen from Mahomes since Bieniemy left? 2023, they won the Super Bowl, but it was the first year you saw, Mahomes is human. This Chiefs offense does have some vulnerabilities. That was the year where there were all those big drops, and they lost close games. They kind of won that Super Bowl on Mahomes being clutch and that defense being excellent. 2024, they won a bunch of close games, but Mahomes, not that great of a statistical regular season. And then last year, even prior to the injury, wasn't great. So now with Bieniemy coming back as the OC, maybe he's not calling plays. That's Andy Reid's job, but just the input, that connection that he has with Mahomes on the sideline, in the film room. I think that, to me, Kenneth Walker's a big addition. Them getting the draft picks they did to address their defense was huge. Mansour Delane, I think, is going to be a superstar in the NFL, the corner from LSU. But getting Bieniemy back into the building in Kansas City, I think first of all, for Bieniemy, it's an opportunity after his significance of the Chiefs' offense was kind of downplayed. Not downplayed, really downplayed the first 5 years of Mahomes' career. Then he goes to Washington, and then to college, and that doesn't really work. And his stock as an NFL coaching candidate has kind of plummeted. Now, if he goes back to Kansas City and the Chiefs' offense goes back to being what we're used to it being, now he probably gets an opportunity. So we'll see what ends up happening. Bieniemy ending up with Kansas City, I think, could really help Patrick Mahomes. But I mean, listen, this is one of the most obvious extensions ever for the Chiefs to give this type of money to Mahomes. If there's anybody in the league worth a $500 million extension, it's that guy. I know there's still folks that debate, is Mahomes still the best quarterback in the league? My question would be, who is then? I will hear an argument for one guy and one guy only, and that's Stafford. Is that not only the Rams of the favorites to win the Super Bowl this year, and if they do, that's 2 rings for Stafford in this decade, but also league MVP, led the league by a pretty comfortable margin in touchdown passes. I was talking about it with Pierce earlier, as you heard in the show, is that now that the physical capabilities are intertwined with the mental edge he has by playing in the NFL for a decade and a half, that's dangerous. And Stafford's one of the most gifted quarterbacks ever. I'll hear the argument for Stafford. Well, Josh Allen, can he get to a Super Bowl at some point? He's phenomenal. Everybody agrees. Josh Allen's an all-time talent. Can he get to one? Just one Super Bowl. Can he not, for the 3 straight years in the playoffs, have the football in his hands? I feel like I'm the only guy that says this, with a chance to tie or take the lead and come up empty all 3 times. 2023, home game against Kansas City. Ball in his hands, 7-8 minutes to go, down 3. Nothing. Kansas City wins. 2024, ball in his hands, down 3. He could go win the game. Knock out the back-to-back champion Chiefs. They get 1 first down. Last year, this past January, you're playing the Denver Broncos, and respect to Denver, the Broncos won that game in large part because Josh Allen committed turnovers, not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times in that football game. And had the ball in regulation and in overtime with a chance to win. Nothing. So, I'm sorry, I can't put him ahead of Mahomes. I darn sure can't put Lamar, whose playoff history is even more checkered than Josh Allen's. At least Allen puts up good numbers in the postseason and has gotten to multiple AFC championship games, something Lamar can't say. I can't say it about Burrow. He's not available enough, and no fault of his own. The Bengals are poorly run. And Burrow also can't do physically what Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes can either. And then from there, it's not Justin Herbert. I love Dak. It's not Dak or Drake May. Or I will hear the argument for Stafford, not for anybody else. Not for anybody else. That guy's still the best player in the league at his position, without question. I think the resume shows that. We can put it up there one more time. Just in the playoffs, and that kind of matters, right? That's the second greatest quarterback ever. Now, there's a gap between him and Brady. Pretty big one. Him not three-peating and playing the way that he did in that Super Bowl against Philly really put a damper on that chase to be the GOAT. But at that number 2 spot, it's him. It's him. I hear an argument from Montana, but it's Patrick. Okay, let's not take a break. Before we get out of here, let's predict Game 5 of the Finals, which is going to be on Saturday. Let's get into that right now. So, on the first half, there's a very real chance that the final game of this NBA season could be played on Saturday night in San Antonio, Texas. The San Antonio Spurs looking to preserve their season, force a Game 6 for the New York Knicks. They're trying to win their first championship in 53 years. San Antonio, remarkably in this game, despite having the biggest choke job in finals history, the San Antonio Spurs are 5.5-point favorites in Game 5 at home. Some of that's obviously the fact that they're at home. Some of that is the fact that Victor Wembanayama, 2 days between games, that's when he's been at his best, is the fact that in between games 2 and 3. Game 3, he was phenomenal. Game 4, he was not good. So the 2 games in between 4 and 5, expect Wemby to kind of bounce back, especially in the offensive end. Expect the Spurs to hopefully play a much more intelligent style of basketball instead of jacking up 17 threes in the second half. I also think there's this component. Yes, we saw last night at least 37% of the tickets have been bought up by New York residents, so this is going to be a potential neutral site game for the Knicks and for the Spurs. That said, because the Spurs are desperate, because the Spurs are, I imagine, the way that group seems to be wired, are pissed how that game transpired, that second half transpired, and the fact that the Knicks expelled so much energy to come back and win that basketball game. Kudos to them. I don't think it's going to be folks like, oh, they're just going to look over the Spurs in Game 5 and try to go win the Garden Game 6. They're going to try and wrap it up, of course. They want to win the championship as soon as possible. But the Spurs' desperation combined with the Knicks, I think, potential exhaustion going into this game, I think San Antonio is going to win Game 5. Do we have the score right here? I think they win by double digits. I think it's 108-95. It's our first non-close game of the series. We thought we were going to get that last night until the Knicks did what they did. But the Spurs win Game 5. They do cover -5.5. 108-95. I think the Knicks are tired. I think there's an element of, yes, we're tired. If this gets out of hand, San Antonio, they've gotten out to a hot start in all of the first 4 of the games. They haven't been able to hold a lead in 3 of the 4. The PTSD from the game ending the way that it did last night and the second half transpiring how it did, if the Spurs go up late third quarter, early fourth quarter by 14 points, it is going to be pedal to the metal. It's going to be Wemby and all these guys like, guys, we are not letting this happen again. I think San Antonio wins. I think we go to a Game 6 next Tuesday night at Madison Square Garden where the Knicks will have an opportunity to win a championship in front of their home fans. It feels kind of team of destiny written in the stars, right, for the Knicks to do this at MSG in front of that home crowd. Outside of Madison Square Garden to just be something. I saw someone tweet that New York City is going to be Gotham City if and when the Knicks win the championship, and that's very possible. We may have to have a masked vigilante try and put it down potentially, but it's going to be unreal in New York. Unreal stuff. And listen, I bag on the Yankees, and as I said earlier, I'll continue to bag on the Yankees, even as pathetic as my Red Sox are right now. If they end up getting the job done, the Knicks, I couldn't be happy for the city of New York. Barry said in the comments earlier, and he's right. You could say he's a biased New Yorker. He's right. Sports are better. Ratings for sports are better when New York teams are good, when LA teams are good. Teams in Texas and Houston and Dallas or Miami or Chicago or Philadelphia. It's just better. These big markets, it's better for pro sports and better for ratings. Nothing against the small market teams. They have their place. No question about it. But it's where the intrigue comes from. Bigger lights, bigger cities, bigger celebrities. It's great for the sport. So I think the Spurs win Game 5. We go back to Game 6 and see what the heck happens. With that, what a show. That is always the time here for today's show. Thanks again to Pierce DeLuna for stopping by. Check out his podcast, the First and Tuna Podcast. If you want a show to listen to with all Rams content, he's your guy. Check out his stuff. Great dude. Hope to collab with him once again in the future. We'll be back on Monday. Regular scheduled programming. Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube, as well as on Twitch, X, Instagram, and on Facebook. Thanks to everybody for stopping by. There was so much to talk about today. If you want to catch any of our content after the fact, subscribe on Carving Up Live. Hit that big red subscribe button right down there on the Carving Up YouTube channel. Also subscribe to the Grid Network. You see all my social media platforms down there. Instagram, X, TikTok. Follow me on all those platforms and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Grid as well. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Hope everybody has a great rest of your week and weekend. The finals might be over by the time we come back on Monday. I don't think it will be. I think we're coming back to New York for Game 6. Cannot wait for it. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. Whew, I need a breather. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.